Welcome to Game 1 of the Grimm Classic, a post-Myth World Cup tournament brought to you by none other than Grimm himself, who came back from an 8-year hiatus to resume his natural role as tournament host and lightning rod for the community. We've got Team 1 versus Team 4. Team 4, affectionately known as Tirri Scooter Gang. Team 1, headed up with a core of Sharzntski, Shyster, and Sharzntski. Widely regarded to be a couple of and I say this tongue-in-cheek, a couple of the top contenders, depending on who you talk to. My personal view is that Team 1, headed up with Sharzntski here captaining, was one of the early tournament favorites. Other folks have said Team 4 has greater depth overall. So interesting comparison. I will call out that for in this match, Team 1 is missing Kruniak and Akira. It looks like, which would be 2 of their top 5 core. So we've got Silic and Wheezy. Wheezy is a newer player. I know he's been practicing to kind of get up to speed. Silic, not traditionally known for playing in competitive Myth World Cup. After that, though, again, Garrick, Argos, and Vaz have all played on top-tier Myth World Cup teams. And then, of course, 3 of anybody's top 10, if not 3 of anybody's top 5 remaining Mythers. Sharzntski, Ars, and Shyster certainly make this a pretty well-rounded team. On the side of Seeker and Team 4, looks like really good turnout. I would say the only player missing is me, Karma, for this week. For this match, we've got Monty, Retless, Zach, Limp, Tirri, and Asmo, along with Trejo. I would say Trejo is really the only one from this list that you wouldn't expect to find in a Myth World Cup game. Zach is on and off from an activity perspective. I think folks have told me that he's played more competitively than I remember him playing back in the day. Didn't get to see him much in Myth World Cup, so it'll be interesting to see how he performs. Looking at the unit trades, so I guess back up. From a team perspective, I'm going to give a slight advantage just from a roster in-game to Seeker's team. I think they should be able to isolate Silic and Wheezy depending on the opportunity. And overall, again, if we were just going to do like a ball rating analysis, I think they have a slight edge. From a unit trade perspective, we've got Sharzntski's team here has taken 7 archers. We've got 4 dwarfs and then max warriors and stigs with a few thrall for defense. So this trade, again, max skull pack with 4 pus. This to me says we are not going to try to play defensive and hold. They may, in fact, completely ignore mid. When you go this heavy, you can really push past mid if the other team goes heavy mid and go to control a side. Or you can rush the mid hill with your advantage in Stigs and Warriors and then quickly push through to minimize the other team's ability to take control and get dwarves set up in high places. If we go look at Team Seeker, so pretty substantially different trade. We've got 12 archers, 6 dwarves, 12 goals, and 0 warriors. So just looking at this with the number of thrall and dwarves, it looks to me a little bit like the goal here would be to get a tag advantage and then camp. But I also think it's a little bit strange to have archers split 4 ways. So my guess coming into this would have been, really heavily prioritizing, getting these dwarves up on the mid hill, at least 3 of them, along with the archers to get control of the overall map. Because in this map, if you're able to get control of this mid hill, it basically turns these 2 areas into impassable areas, and so you're really only having to defend a couple of chokes on the outsides. So if they're able to do that, I think that could be interesting. I don't actually know. I haven't reviewed my team strat since I wasn't playing this week. I'm not 100% sure what they were trying to do, but we can look back afterwards and see what happens. Small nitpick here. Pretty slow to tag these back flags. Looks like Sharzntski's team will tag those 2 first. We've got 1 goal tagger, which I always like to see going to tag 4. Criticism from Sharzntski, or to Sharzntski, no goal tagger. Looks like Wheezy prioritized getting pus before going over to flag 3. So with the goal taggers from both Tirri and Monty, we're going to make up for the fact that we didn't get the 2 back tags first by getting, it looks like, yeah, for sure. So good. So team 4, Tirri Scooter Gang, has gotten 4 flags first, but really surprised to see this. So I thought the archer split was a little bit awkward. It looks like we're Seekers having the team split up 3 ways. So we've got the bulk of the archers are east on flag 6, and then you've got 2 hold forces here with Zach and Trejo mid. Then you got Tirri with a stick pack as well as Limp that initially started west. Limp is now shifting back mid, but at this point, the Seekers team has really given up all semblance of tempo from my perspective. You're not really going to be able to push east with this archer pack because Shyster and Garrick on the goal pack could easily pinch and crush. On the side of Tirri, you could maybe push up with your Puss and Stigs to challenge for flag 3. That's probably your only winnable flag. But same thing. Ours can either come here and pinch or pressure flag 5. So I think that's going to be a challenge. So I think right now the goal is we've got our 4 flags first. Let's just defend. Maybe a bit of a miscommunication here. Zach seems to be on that page and is backed way up. I would like to see Seeker get this dwarf up here to provide support, as well as I'm hopeful, somewhere in the team chat, folks are asking Trejo to back out. Looks like he is, in fact, backing out, which is okay. Still pretty even game. Our Thrall are here. If these dwarves are able to be protected, I think it's going to be hard for them to tag flag 6. But one thing you'll notice, these squads on the side of Seeker's team are very split up. So if we flip the point of view, Shyster, Ars, Blade, Donsky, and Vaz are all basically together. So any one of them, let's say Tirri pushes, this is like the famous Caterpillar phalanx. Ars is easily able to shift over to 5. Shyster could easily support mid if he needed to. And Blade is free to sit here, not really in any worry of being rushed. Whereas on the side of Seeker's team, if Trejo or Zach gets pushed or loses their dwarf, unless Seeker's dwarf is high up on the mountain here, this is probably GG because these back flags are vulnerable. There's really no way that Monty or Retless can do anything other than defend this flag. So they're pretty much glued to the flag. Splitting the archers so many different ways also means that anywhere there's an archer fight, at best case, you're fighting an even number of archers. And worst case, as you see here with Retless and Blade, you're fighting down a unit. Tirri is looking to try to make a move, but there's just not a whole lot for him to do. Again, Trejo, I think, is too far forward. Either Zach needs to be pushing up and actually making this a 6 versus 3 archer fight, which Zach could easily do, or Trejo needs to be way back here. So, fight continues, even percent. We've got a couple goals in the backfield for the TV Seeker, but they're not really going to do much. Zach makes an interesting decision here. I'm not sure why. So I would have liked to see Zach probably push up here. He may be thinking that he needs to come reinforce, Retless and Monty over on that flag. But to me, as long as the dwarves are alive for Retless and Monty, this flag should, in theory, be able to hold. Instead, we now have Zach and Trejo kind of in the same spot. Looks like they are telling Trejo, perhaps to go reinforce flag 6. But you've left one of your chokes wide open to get in the backfield. The dwarf here that was here is now over on flag 5. So would really need Seeker or Tirri to get a dwarf up here to try to seal this off. I think that's like a tough throw for dwarf to make, but at least he could throw off this edge. As it is, even though the percents are close, same thing still holds. Donzi's team control the mid-hill, can be very flexible. They really only need one tag, so I think that they're fine. Ars and Garrick looks like try to make a pinch here. Good play from Tirri and Asmo to actually choke them and trap them. Not much for Garrick to do. Doesn't have a pus. Funny interaction there. Tirri and Seeker almost blow up Seeker's dwarf, which would have been quite unfortunate. Good archering from Vaz is taking down 2 of Trejo's archers and damaged 1 of Zach's. Good job from Retless and co of surviving. So there was some heavy pressure here. It does look like Limp. I'm not sure what Limp is doing. It looks like Limp made the call that he wanted to rush Vasil, but he's run himself into a really bad spot. Really, all of this should die if the other team plays this right. You're pretty much surrounded. Looks like they do mess up the trap a bit. So less dies than you would have thought going into that. I think Limp loses 2 or 3 stags. So still even percent. You get 1 that's pretty red. He's in a better spot at the end of that. So even though I think that was a misplay, he's still in an okay spot. Better than he was choked off over here because he can now kind of plug this hole. Asmus right into the backfield. He's being shadowed now by Garrick, who's been given some stigs, presumably from Arsnek. Tirri's now shifting over, again, to try to just plug the hole. They're still in an okay spot. So it's been pretty reactive, but right as of like this second, it still looks as if this is a winnable game. You've got all of this running into a choke here. So if these dwarves, again, can survive, could get any bombs off, if we had any pus, which looks like we have at least 1. But very good pus there coming out of Shyster. Gets 2 of Zach's archers. The third one is also going to go down. Tirri's coming in. And so I think at this point, what you really need to see is a very good pus from Limp, a very good pus from Tirri, and then these dwarfs to stay alive. So Tirri's coming in. Arsnek takes out his dwarf and a stig with the pus. Tirri's pus freezes a dwarf, but doesn't do anything. Unfortunately, because the archers are already dead. So Limp now, I don't even know if this is a big pus, but he's got a 1-hit red goal. 12% lead, and again, I think Shyster and Ars are now in such a dominant position. If Trejo had retreated around to get a dwarf up here way sooner, I think, when Zach shifted over, you could have made the call to stick a Trejo dwarf on fortress defense. Even still, it's going to be really hard to hold 2 of the back flags. For Seeker's team, there's still absolutely no threat on the offensive side. So nothing in terms of a risky tag, that could even things up. So again, it looks like that pus was a small pus for Limp's goal, so it didn't really matter much. Again, that dwarf up here with the satchels might have been able to do something, but at this point, even though it's only a 10% lead, the forces of Seeker are very immobile. They're not going to be able to keep all of the flags, which was really their win condition at this point. So both back flags ended up going down. Trejo did get around here, but again, just wasn't in time. So I don't know if that was just communication or a little bit newer player. 14% lead, but with 3 minutes, again, even sending this stuff on offense, assuming that it could get to flag 4, isn't going to be enough because you need another flag. So I guess maybe you send Seeker here with a dwarf and Journeyman to try to make an outplay here against Wheezy. That would give you at least a shot at winning. But in all honesty, Donski's team could at any point just pull all the way back to their home flags if they wanted to. And it looks like that's what they start to do. Just fast forwarding a bit. So, good call from Monty. It looks like he is going to be able to take that. Again, arguable. If we send that dwarf, I think it just means that they're able to come over, with Shyster and take flag 3. And without the dwarf, not really a way to take that out unless you get a pretty dramatic misplay from Wheezy. Vast pushing in. Again, Relentless, admirable job, along with Monty on flag defense, I think. They've done quite well. Tirri has managed to stay alive and be a presence, but not really able to accomplish a whole lot. Puss coming in there from Limp, so I guess he did manage to find a big Puss somewhere. I didn't catch where that picked up. You'd like to see Seeker's Dwarf here more actively helping. Seeker may be looking elsewhere on the map and just giving some coaching in terms of where folks should go. But 30 seconds left, 20% flag lead. I just don't see any way. Presumably, if you get a contest, but even then, this is what I was talking about over here, around flag 8. So Sharzntski has managed to get a dwarf up. So I think that, again, very smart play. If you're not able to hold these mid chokes, I think your dwarfs, given that they both survived, should have just retreated, gotten up high. Tirri's dwarf, arguably, if it hadn't gotten Puss, could have filled that role, but neither here nor there. Zach blowing up his own team, not entirely sure why. Trejo's units go down. Yeah, Zach's just taking out Monty. Just typical Zach things. Limp finally gets cleaned up with 2 seconds left. Closer game than it looked. I think the strategy on the side of Seeker held up reasonably well. Not having Zach push at the same time Trejo was fighting when they had an archer advantage is maybe a bit questionable. Not having both Zach and Trejo pull back and try to get a dwarf up on one of these two high places is also a question mark. I can see how you wouldn't want to give this hill up because you could potentially get a dwarf and archers and pressure flag 6, but a dwarf over here isn't going to really actually threaten the flag. In general, I think I like Dante's strategy, not necessarily his unit trade, but his strategy of taking control of the mid-hill and being more flexible, allowing people to shift to multiple sides, I think set them up pretty well. Great ratio games from Ars and Shyster. So Arsenic with a very typical Arsenic game, 0 losses with 6 kills. Shyster taking home top number of kills. Vast did a good job, as we mentioned, on those archers. Nothing too crazy on the side of Seeker's team, but overall good game. So we're at 1-0. Team won, and we will pick back up in game 2.